All right. Welcome back, Kwaku. It's an honor once again. I know you were just here like a couple months ago, but back by popular demand, I've been having a lot of folks asking for you to come back.
All right. Sure. Yeah.
And if for those of you that don't, we're also here with Palmer with Walk.
How's it going?
Yeah.
Good to be with you.
So for those who don't remember or haven't heard of Kwaku, he's a convert to the church. He's from Cypress, Texas, and you live in Provo, right?
Yes.
He was one of the first hosts of Saints Unscripted on YouTube. He has a podcast, a YouTube channel called Stone 16. Sorry. And I find it very refreshing and bold. It's an interesting show. He's an actor, writer, comedian. I don't know, you name it. Quasi apologist, whatever. Anyway, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Go ahead.
Oh no, I've got nothing. Stone 16 is on a bit of a hiatus right now, so some people who might be subscribed to both channels will probably want to know. But
that was one of the questions. I don't know if you went to the thread, but one of the questions was, "Where the heck have you been?"
We're super independent, so we Our whole team on Stone 16 got incredibly busy for the summer. Half of our hosts went off to do sales, so they can eat bread this fall. And so we've been working on some things, and so it's looking like we're gonna be the kind of channel that uploads in bulk and then disappears for a little, and uploads in bulk and disappears for a little. So it's kind of how it has to be when you're all a bunch of super young people and you're all having conflicting lives and stuff. So
is that the same with Midnight Mormons? I know you're not the host. Cardin Ellis.
Right. Yeah. It's the same. So Cardin really likes it when Brad and I come to be a part of it. So Cardin's the main host, but he kind of has it as regulars, and so the only issue is he lives in Los Angeles. So every couple months we have to go fly to his studio to
really
record.
I did not know that. So, I thought he was living in Utah. I thought that studio was in Utah.
No, it's in Los Angeles. So we go into LAX every time we do anything Midnight Mormons. And so we're all kind of like, and actually Brad lives about an hour away from me. Brad Whitbeck. So we're kind of all over the place. And so we love this stuff. We all have to come together magically to make it all work.
Right. And it might be like that for the duration of the whole program, right?
Well, we are going to be opening up some spots for new hosts to do some more regular content. So we're going to be doing a bit of sounds weird, a casting call in Provo soon. We can have more stuff. And so they won't be seeing as much of me, but we're going to try to get some really smart, fun people, smarter than me and more fun than me, to go and make sure that we can, keep pushing the gospel towards all the people my age and younger. And we need it, man. I tell you, I did I think this might segue kind of into our subject, and stop me because it's your show. So
no.
Direct,
hey,
however, So.
Weird. Okay, this is a show about you and about anything we want to talk about. We're just Palmer's here. You're here. We're going to just talk. We're going to brainstorm. We're going to laugh. We're going to do
Okay,
whatever.
cool.
Okay. Grab your
All right.
beverages,
Perfect.
and I got a Monster.
Got a Red Bull. So,
I just had
um,
surgery on my teeth, so I look like a jack-o'-lantern,
hey,
but
that's
that's
no problem.
okay. So let me ask you this real quick, though. Would you consider yourself a progmo or a desnat, or in between?
I wish there was a. I can. Okay, we tried to make the joke that we call ourselves Stone 16 stoners because
Okay.
I can't say I'm a progmo because I think progmo is just the highway to ex-Mormon, but then I think desnats are
Is also the highway to ex-Mormons with flowers and butterflies, right?
yeah, no, well, no one so the funny thing is uh the back in the day, uh like OG, I was new to BYU. There was the first time that the term Deseret nationalist was used was with this woman. Her name was at on Twitter at wife with a purpose, and she was really the first one to start pushing this very 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 hard right, kind of conspiratory, you know, alt right version of our religion, and she ended up becoming an ex Mormon.
Oh,
And so a lot of
wow.
big Desnat accounts early on actually associated with her. The church ended up releasing a statement. The church never releases a statement about a specific member ever. You know, like they never do that. They did for her. They released a specific statement saying, we do not condone what she's trying to create. We don't condone any sort of racism. And it was like overt um, stuff, really bad stuff. So the church released a statement, and then she said, yeah, the church has fallen because they're not supporting my ideology, and she actually left the church. So both roads really do lead
Right.
to ex-Mormon. Like people think if I become Desnet and I'm hardcore, what actually I'm starting to see, and I know I'll get flamed for this, but I'll say it anyway. What I'm starting to see with a lot of the Desnet types is they're becoming very neo-pagan. They're getting it really into that Roman, like you know, that
Right.
ancient Rome aesthetic, and there's always some
Kwaku.
wisdom you can learn from.
Kwaku.
Oh yeah,
Hold that thought. Somebody's knocking. Hold on.
okay.
Sorry, I'll edit this part out, folks.
Also, I heard you became Watcher Palmer and you ditched the street preacher. Is that right?
I ditched the preacher part. Took too much heat over that in the church, you know, being a preacher and not, you know, set apart and called, you know, how critical that is. So I changed it. But it's interesting that you brought up the stoner part. I did a video called "Everyone Must Get Stoned," you know, from the old Bob Dylan song, and it was about Jacob, his dream, and his head was on a pillow of stone, and so it tied into that we all need to get stoned in order to get connected to God. It was kind of fun. Some people took offense to it, but I thought it was kind of funny. You know,
good.
We got to have a sense of humor in this. You know, some
We
people
do.
get pretty uptight about things.
We do. No, we
Yeah.
definitely.
Sorry about the interruption.
Oh, no problem.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no,
What
I
were you
would.
saying? And then you had another. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, I was saying just that we're seeing a lot of the Desnet types. I see a lot of things that they say that are just not true doctrine. They're kind of embracing like it's a weird form of new age neo-paganism. It's the right wing version. So there's like the left wing like pagan resurgent, which is you know, tarot cards and astrology and a lot of that kind of stuff, which I ultimately think most of it's harmless, but when you really start making it your religion, it gets kind of strange.
Right.
When it stops being teenagers goofing off on a Saturday night, you know, in their basement, when it gets
Kind of like
this is my religion.
Yeah, yeah. Like the Wiccan
Yeah.
type.
Yeah. Like okay, you're being Wiccan, it's Halloween, you're a teenage girl,
I get
who
it.
cares?
Yeah.
But then, you know, it gets to a level of, oh, that's really what you're believing. Okay, well, there's some. Let's talk about it. So there's a very right wing version of that, and it's no one knows exactly what to call it yet because it's very new. It's like, do you guys remember when memes were new? Like,
Yeah.
back in 2010, there would just be pictures people would keep posting online, and we always knew the joke, but you didn't know what to call it, and people didn't start calling it a meme until around 2015. We don't quite know what it is yet, but it's like a borderline QAnon adjacent kind of alt-right, like Roman paganism mixed with Christianity, Nick Fuentes sort of thing. It's a strange culmination, but I think that stuff's just as dangerous as the progressive Mormon guys. So neither. I can't say I'm either. I really would not want to hang out with either group. I think there are some good people who identify as both. I can name good people on both the sides, but there's, yeah, it's just a way to get you out of the church ultimately.
Just stick to the mainstream of the church. Like who said that? Elder Ballard, I believe.
Elder Ballard, stay in the good ship Zion.
Yep,
is what he said,
right.
and he was basically talking about that. Yeah.
I think Joseph Smith said, always stand at the majority of the quorum of the 12 apostles. This is what he said.
Yeah, right.
So that's where I am. So
That's
and
good.
yeah, but I did a little prep for this with the, you sent me from 2 Timothy 3. So
Oh yeah.
I wanted to see if I could get some bring some light from or info from the Gen Z LDS crowd. So
Yeah.
I did an Instagram series of polls asking some questions that I thought were pretty important questions.
Okay.
And I wanted to share some of the results, and the majority of my followers are I think they're 16 to like 25. That's the most of the age range. So all these answers are in that age range. But the first one I asked was, do you believe in a human God? 974 voted yes. 144 voted no. And it said, then next one was, or do you believe God is a feeling/idea? Example, God is love. And we had 790 say no, 248 said yes. So I'm like, okay, so far, I mean, the majority understand our doctrine, okay? So then I asked, do you feel welcomed at church? And we had 1,012 say yes, and 220 said no. I asked after that, do you feel bored at church? 733 said yes, 487 said no. So these are the interesting numbers. Now it's getting a little closer, right?
Right.
I asked, does church excite you? We had 677 say yes, and 515 said no.
Wow.
Yeah. Does church feel supernatural/divine/mystical? We had 232 said yes, 900 said no. And then I asked, do you want church to feel more supernatural/divine/mystical? 382 said yes, but 706 said no.
Really?
Now this was something was very interesting because the people who follow me for the most part are not progmos or desnats, just a lot of them are Utah, Idaho, Arizona,
Right.
people just raised in the church. Do you like the church leaders? And I posted with a picture of the Quorum of the 12. 1,045 said yes. 173 said no. But what was interesting was when I clicked on the people that said no, a lot of them were very normal, voted yes for all the correct doctrinal answers. But for this one, they said no. And so I asked after, do you trust church leaders? 177 said no, 1,034 said yes. Do you think the church feels too corporate? 696 said no, 438 said yes.
Interesting.
Have members of the church ever made you want to leave or go inactive? 607 said no, 537 said yes.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. Does church history make you uncomfortable? 383 said yes. 712 said no. I thought that was going to be mostly yes, but it was actually mostly no, which is interesting. Okay.
Right.
Do you believe the LDS Church is God's only true church? 841 said yes. 256 said no. Do you think Joseph Smith would be proud of the church in 2021? 751 said yes. 283 said no.
Okay.
Should the church change its scriptures and doctrine on marriage? 163 voted yes. 870 voted no. Are you excited to be Mormon, or do you keep it low key? 695 said excited. 314 said low key. For LDS, do you follow the word of wisdom? 842 said yes. 211 said no. Do you follow the law of chastity? 837 said yes. 189 said no.
Oh, well, that's good. I mean, that's a good
It's
ratio.
good, right? Yeah,
We're
right.
following the law of chastity.
However, though, on that question specifically, I can see how many people viewed it. And most people just decided not to answer that one because I can see who voted yes and no. So maybe they don't want. Maybe they don't want me. Maybe they, you know. What
Right.
I'm saying? Do you pay tithing? 231 said no, and 797 said yes. And my last question was just one for fun. Do you like Brigham Young? And 674 said yes. 253 said no.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's still going, right? It's just going to be up there for 24 hours. But yeah, I thought those are some really interesting results that, you know, people understanding we have an embodied God, and not being that uncomfortable with church history. It's like, because, you know, I hear a lot from critics. It's the church history is going to make they don't, no, not really for them. They feel the church is too corporate, and some of those things, So I just thought that was very interesting, because it's kind of trying to gauge where people are at. It's never as cut and dry, I think, as some of the you know, people antagonists to the church like to make it seem.
Right. Yeah.
Kwaku, what was that question again about the mysticism? What was the question about spiritual or mysticism? What was that one again? That was the most interesting one to me.
Yeah. So the first one I asked was, does the church feel supernatural / mystical / divine? 900 said no, and 234 said yes. Now, I'm not sure how many have been to the temple, right? So you got to take that for what it's worth.
Right.
When your most spiritual experiences are EFY, maybe there's not, you know, you got to give it more time, right?
Yeah.
But then it was, do you want church to feel more supernatural, divine, mystical? 708 said no, they don't want to.
That was the one that got me the most.
Yeah,
right
me
there.
too.
Yeah. 384 said yes. I'm like, yes, give me. I want as supernatural. Bring back the seer stones. You know, I'm fine with all that. Like that's, and so yeah, they it's really, really interesting. But the funny thing is, a lot of the people who were voting yes on that one were those. It looks like the same people who do not follow the law of chastity or the word of wisdom, but they want it to be more supernatural. And the people voting no were the ones who are voting yes on the more, you know, rule following questions.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting. You know. So maybe there's, and this is a theory I've had for a little, but I mean, clearly this is an Instagram story, so this is not like a peer-reviewed study, right? It's about as rudimentary as it gets. But my thought was, I think a lot more people believe than you know, act on it. I think there's a lot of people who have a testimony and really like the divinity and really believe in the scriptures and believe in the divine, but they want to smoke, they want to drink, they want to have sex, but those people are still looking for something very. They believe in the magic, and so I think that's a very interesting crowd, and I'm finding a lot more of those kind of people among my age demographic. So I'm wondering, maybe there's a way to I don't know, find a way to preach to those people that maybe they don't show up, but to church,
but they have the testimonies. A lot of them have testimonies.
Right.
It's just their vices. Like you said, some of their vices are
right.
keeping them from progressing. I remember you said that in the last show about the guy that's in his shirt and tie at church that's way over in left field on the doctrine. And,
right, exactly.
And then you've got the guy that doesn't come to church. Maybe he's got a smoking problem and he's not a scholar. He grew up in the church, or he might be a convert, but he or she says, yeah, I would like to come back again someday. And I know that Joseph Smith was a prophet of God. Doesn't Christ say that I'm paraphrasing, but the little people of the world are the ones?
Yes, the meek will inherit the earth. And meek.
Like, I'm not a scholar, Kwaku. Palmer and I were talking about this the other day. You're really quick with words. Cardin Ellis, man, that guy is amazing. Even though he interrupts everybody, but he's gonna watch this. But you guys, you're quick with words and your thoughts, and us old people, we're trying to remember our middle name,
It reminds me of the Chosen, especially this last season. Well, both seasons, where these simple people that had issues, they're the ones that are believing in the Messiah. They're the ones that are following and doing, where the educated, the more sophisticated, wealthy, they're looking at this group of people as, crazy. In fact, they call John the Baptist, Crazy John in there. And I think that's, we're seeing that in the church today. There's this separation, and there's this intellectual side of members that are well established and well connected, and then there are these individuals that feel like they're on the outside looking in, but they want it. They want what the gospel brings in its simplicity, but not with all the stuff that's attached to the cultural aspect of it, if that makes sense. And that's what I love. I don't know, Kwaku, if you watched The Chosen or have seen it, but I really like that element of these people with problems that love Christ.
Yeah. Well, I identify with those people more than I identify with,
exactly.
Yeah. So this is you guys have the liberty to cut this out if you want. This might be too much of a dangerous opinion, but by the way, I wish you guys could see the view right now. It's absolutely spectacular. I keep looking over because I get to see the East and West Mountains right now. So in this, it's absolutely beautiful. But I was studying the first vision, the Pearl of Great Price, and I notice heaven's open. God the Father, Jesus Christ, and the angels are there in the sacred grove. The first words are Heavenly Father saying, Joseph, calls Joseph by name, this is my beloved son, hear him. Almost immediately, Jesus says, that's very nice, don't join the other churches. And their professors are corrupt and their creeds are an abomination. Have you guys seen Arrested Development, the TV show?
Yeah.
There's a really funny episode. I can't remember what the context is, but there's some solution that these guys are trying to make. And Tobias says, it didn't work for them, but it might work for us. And I kind of think that's where we are right now in terms of church academics, where Tobias Funke
I
from
know where you're
Arrested
going
Development.
with this. Yeah.
It's
You mean like socialism is a good idea, kind of like that.
well, I mean, this idea that relying on academia and saying, okay, actually, who are the qualified people to speak about God? We're getting that kind of it's a very Protestant kind of smuggery in the church right now. You see the people who criticized Hank Smith, and they're like, he doesn't even have a PhD in biblical studies. Why is he teaching? And I'm like, wait, you're the people Christ was upset at. How dare you not be as educated and as learned as us? Only people in our team, our little clique, are the ones who are qualified to talk about God. And John the Baptist was the most qualified, and he's the least qualified in their eyes. We're getting right there. We're getting this class division in the church of academics who believe that they are qualified because of the worldly things and schools and the collegiate. But what makes you qualified is God anointing you in the Holy Spirit. That's all there is.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
All there is.
Yeah, that's so good.
That's what's happening. Like I tell you, at BYU, and again, we have a lot of wonderful professors, especially religion professors at BYU. I will go to bat for Anthony Sweat. I'll go to bat for Mark Matthews if he's still there. I'll go to bat for a lot of these guys. Some of them I won't. And there's a handful, probably a couple handfuls, where I noticed that their credibility, they believe, comes from their peers, seemingly their peers only, right? It's the fact that I got a PhD and I am smart. Listen to me. And the students are going, okay, do you have a testimony of Christ? Do you have a testimony of the restored gospel? Yeah. I have a testimony of the elements of the good-natured spirit that may or may not come with the restored gospel if one decides to undertake certain measure. That's not an answer. Give me an answer. That's kind of what we're getting, right? And so,
and doesn't it show in their? You can tell when somebody has a testimony of the gospel in the way they teach the gospel. I mean, you can tell it's in the language they use, the words they don't that they omit from what they are teaching.
Yeah.
It's in their eyes too. The spirit is detected in the eyes. You can always tell in the eyes. And a lot of the professors are missing that element.
I mean, it's funny because it's like a culmination of problems. We've got a lot of people that are in various levels of activity, especially among my age bracket, but then the professors, a lot they're not helping. They're not helping. And what happens if you're kind of on the margins and you go into a religion class and you think, maybe I'm going to be able to increase my testimony here, and you're going, oh, this is, I mean, it's like it's a.
And you learned that just God loves you. That's it. God loves you.
You learn God loves you, but you don't know who God. Oh man, I think I have a pretty interesting group of people that I get to examine because I run an event company in Utah, and so I get to talk with a lot of people just who are not even at BYU, who go to concerts and galas and parties and all those things. We put on all those things. I was talking to a couple girls. They were 19. I asked, raised LDS in Spanish Fork, who is the first prophet of the church, like of our restored church? They didn't know it was Joseph Smith. And I was like, how do you not know that? That's like, what? I was asking things I thought were the most, I wish I was I wish I was adding hyperbole to this. You know what I mean? I wish this was hyperbolic. I was just asking a couple questions, and they didn't go to BYU. They were just but still raised LDS in Utah. very, very basics. A really good friend of mine for years didn't know much about the Book of Mormon, raised LDS her whole life in Eagle Mountain, didn't know who, okay, to quote her, what's a Helaman?
What's a Helaman?
What's a Helaman? Right. So I'm going, man, there's a reason right now people are somewhat inactive. They may not even know that much of what we believe. But pause. I thought if we brought and focused on academia and we got all the scholars and we just gave them so much power in the church, I thought if we did that, everyone would know. It's having the opposite effect.
That is
less people care.
That is a great insight. So one of your questions was about their enthusiasm about sacrament meeting or going to church, and it was pretty low. What, right? I mean, I don't.
Right. They said they felt bored.
Yeah. And does that go along with what you're saying now? They go to church, but they're not hearing anything that's inspiring them, or that they're interested in, or what do you think that dynamic is compared to what we've just been talking about?
Well, I think there's a couple. Okay, I will try to keep this. Sometimes my thoughts go so far out and they make sense to me and they don't make sense to everyone else.
We understand. Trust me, we get it.
So I think one aspect is the younger millennials and the Gen Z are a test generation for a million different things. So, for example, we're the test generation for phones, for these computers we're all rocking around with. What kind of cancer will they give us later on? We don't know. You know, what effects is it having on our eyes? The blue light. We're finding out now, but it's too late for most of us. You know, we're finding out what happens when you've got a machine that can give you all the pornography ever made in the world within seconds, right? We're the test generation of let's give kids Vyvanse and things like that so they can study and focus more. Let's give kids serotonin reuptake inhibitors to balance them out. So we've kind of done so much, and you put these guys in church for 3 hours, now 2 hours, and don't touch your phone, listen to the talk. And well, okay, the kid takes Adderall all throughout high school. He's been taking it since 3rd grade, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When he's not, he's swiping through 15 different apps immediately.
They can't even wait for a red light.
Exactly. You can't. And I'll say, some of these even apply to me, right? Like I'm like, I get it. You're just. Everything is so fast paced, and our entire minds as young people are trained to be fast. Even working right now as a college student, the idea of waiting for a check in the mail is that's not a thing anymore. In the age of Venmo and Cash App, it's just, I get paid like that. And I transfer it to my credit card. Everything is fast, every single thing. But our church is still slow. So they come in and they're just like, what's going on? I'm bored. And it's not just like an unwillingness to listen. It's that we've given them chemicals in their bodies for 10 years that make it so they can't just sit there. You know what I mean? Like we've physically altered people.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big part of it that we shouldn't overlook. I think that's probably like I think that's, and I'm not trying to sound like some hardcore alternative health person here, but I really do think that's so we should definitely look into that aspect more and how it relates to activity in church, because I really think that's something we have missed the ball on and something we didn't pay enough attention to. But on the other side, then, if you have these people and they know some of the basics, they may not know what a Helaman is, they may not know, they may not know John Taylor was the 3rd prophet of the church. They don't know certain things, but they know there's a God. They know they have heavenly parents. They know that they can be with them someday, and they know that there's a magical element.
Yeah.
And so it's pointing them north. It's pointing them the right direction. It's pointing them there. So one issue is, and I think this is it's an issue that it's sort of, it may be unavoidable when you have a worldwide church, because you have to standardize everything so we can all have the same information. But when you're in church and everything I just described, that kind of fits you, and you're listening to someone who isn't very charismatic or a good speaker giving a talk on a talk that an apostle gave at conference that you fell asleep during. Okay, what's going to happen?
That sounds like my YouTube channel.
No. You are far more entertaining. But really, I mean, that is an aspect of it. And so, you'll hear they're kind of tuning out, as opposed to, hey, this is what we believe about becoming like God. Here are 5 scriptures, and these are 2 conference talks from John Taylor and Wilford Woodruff. I want you to read both those 2 talks and study these scriptures. Tell me what you think and give a talk on that subject. Now, I guarantee you give them a little bit of information to where to point them, and then you tell them to give a talk. And what that does is it tells them, okay, I need to understand this, so I can actually. But instead, we go, Elder Gong gave a talk about love. Love is good. I remember one time I was sad. It wasn't good, but now that I'm happy. Like, it's just, you're giving a talk on someone's talk, and nobody in your age bracket is really even paying attention. Why is that? So I really think there's just a lot of things that have come together. It reminds me of the enemy is combined. It's like all come together, and it makes it harder for people my age to really just pay attention during church. And then after a couple of weeks, you're like, do I really want to wake up at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning? I'm in Utah. It's November. It's cold outside. It's overcast. I want to stay in bed. I gotta wake up, get in my freezing car, drive to the parking lot of the church, and sit down in there, and avoid a girl I went on an awkward date with in the ward. Well, and hesitate to take the sacrament because I might have done something a couple of weeks ago. It's like, I get it, So with all of those things that are kind of making it harder for them, that means we need to have the magic here. We need to have a rallying spirit. I am excited and proud to be a Latter-day Saint. Our history is beautiful. Our what we have built in this short time around the entire world is beautiful. This is God's church, and we can expect miracles and angels. We need that attitude, but we just don't have enough of it. And so that is a big thought, kind of shooting all over the place, but that's what we need more of. And so I really think it has to be ground up. We can't wait for the apostles. I think it's got to be a lot of the things that have to change in church start with the people, right? Was Elder Packer said Revelation is scattered throughout all the members of the Church of the Tribe of Israel. It's very similar. We need a renaissance, essentially, is what we need.
Right.